we are so excited to have you to share this wonderful news about Stanislaus State's economic impact. And I want to introduce our wonderful president, Dr. Junn, who has led us for the last 7 years, has it been, and has really drove home all the beautiful things that are happening at Stan State, the impact that we have in this region. And so I'll welcome Dr. Junn to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to see you today on a Friday morning. And I wanted to start off by, by respectfully acknowledging our land acknowledgement for our Native Americans. So as we begin, we acknowledge that Stan State is located on the traditional lands of the Yokuts Nation. Our campus is built on the unceded ancestral lands of these indigenous tribes. So thank you for allowing us to honor the Yokuts and give our gratitude to their ancestors and descendants for their constant and careful stewardship of this beautiful land. So, again, thank you for joining us at this breakfast this morning. And before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that members of the campus leadership who are here, our deans, our associate VPs, our provost, our VPs, vice presidents, and cabinet members, can those people please rise? A round of applause. Thank you, and I also want to acknowledge so many of the guests and elected officials in our audience today as well. So elected officials and notable guests, please stand forward as well to give a round of applause. Thank you. All right, so today, this morning, I'm especially excited to be able to showcase for you the truly mind-boggling, transformative power of having a university in our city. I think many people often understand that a university is right here on Monte Vista. You drive past the busy intersection by Gear, and you notice that there is a university, and you know that there are students because, especially during commencement, there's a lot of traffic going on. But I think many people don't understand the truly significant economic impact that a university has for a city and a region and the state, in fact, the whole nation as well. And I know Mayor Blublock is very interested, I think as an alumna herself, to see what the impact of it is, how lucky we are to have Stanislaus State here in Turlock, and not just in Turlock, also in another county, San Joaquin County, at our Stockton campus. So combined together, the power of a university is truly mind-boggling, and you'll hear the economic data shortly. Excuse me. But one thing that, of course, all people know is that universities, the mission is here to educate students. And as we challenge students to reach their full potential, develop a passion for lifelong learning, not just learning in the first 4 years of college, but lifelong, for graduate work, for continuing education, and so on. So we know that when individuals achieve those additional educational years, that they are going to, excuse me, not only improve their economic potential, but their personal and professional lives as well. Their ability to go on and succeed in high-level jobs, get higher, progression in their careers. And we know that college also increases individual personal outcomes. So people who have college education are much more likely to be healthy, to not suffer as many debilitating diseases, are more likely to participate in the community, more likely to vote, less likely to have other kinds of negative impacts. So all of those things help build a healthy community. So all of these things tell us that a university education provides a host of benefits, and those benefits and our students and our alumni pursue greater economic success and professional success for all of us here in the region. So I just have a question for you. Raise your hand if you're a Stan State alumna. Okay, so about maybe a quarter in the room here. And even though we are one of 23 campuses in the system, right? And if you had to take a guess, if there's 23 campuses, how many students do you think are enrolled in the CSU in total? Just for example, our campus, do you know how many students we have? You can cheat, you can look at your sheet. Yes, Marlene's a banker, and she knows there's data on the table. So you should take this home, and you should be able to tell all your friends and neighbors the impact of Stan State. So if you flip it over, you can see that we have, let's see, 11,930 students that are taking credit courses. There's almost 1,946 who are taking non-credit courses. And so that total is, as you can tell, almost 13,000 students total. So if we have 12,000 students at just one campus alone, and we're a small campus, we're considered relatively small. The largest campus has how many? 40,000 plus on one campus. That would be Fullerton and Northridge. And so if you think about adding all 23 campuses together, it's almost 475,000 students, almost 500,000 students right now in the CSU. And then if you try and understand what does that mean statewide and nationwide, that means 1 out of every 5 California residents has a CSU degree. Then we have alumni. We have 4 million alumni from the CSU. So 1 in 5 in California is a CSU graduate. Many of our legislators, elected officials like Mayor Bublak are CSU alumni. In our case, Stan State, yay, go Warriors alumni. And, and in addition, in the United States as a whole, not all of our students stay in California. So 1 in 10 people living in the United States have a degree from the CSU. That is astronomical. The power of being part of the CSU and the power of Stan State, as you'll see in this economic report, is even greater for our region, because in our region, we don't have that many colleges that are accessible to students in the Central Valley in our 6-county region area. So what I wanted to say here is that at this campus, my cabinet is very interested in trying to show the impact of our students. We're now getting national recognition for the success of our students. Many of our students are the first. In fact, 74% of our students are the first in their family to get a college degree. Again, because there wasn't as much access and knowledge about the ability to get an affordable and excellent degree here in Central Valley. And so my campus and all the faculty involved and the staff are very supportive of our students, and so they are graduating in very strong numbers, and they're going on to have great professional success with a bachelor's degree. Since there are not as many students with bachelor's degrees in the Central Valley, they are able to get good jobs and significantly more pay and salary. And these are all factors that go into compiling the economic impact, which the Economist Anna will explain to you shortly. All right, so what we did recently is to partner with a company called Lightcast. It's a global leader in labor market analytics, and they were working with us in our alumni database, as well as Department of Labor data, clearinghouse data from the US government, to produce a very powerful economic impact report and an upward mobility study to show that the presence of our students, our alumni especially, and the university benefits from this 6-county region. Okay, so this is a study that's based on metric-driven analyses, and it substantiates the depth to which university contributes to a region's economic development. I know we have at least one economist in the room, Dr. Erickson, right? Are there any other economists in the room? Maybe just Dr. Erickson. Very good. My sister is an economist as well. But what you want to do is try and understand this data. What does it mean? There's a lot of figures and statistics. The full report is available. I think it's listed here on the sheet if you'd like to read all the details as well. So before we actually hear about the study's details from Anna, I just want to acknowledge those who helped bring this impact report to fruition. And so obviously lots of thanks to our collaborative partner Lightcast for working with us to produce the report. And I also want to thank the many members of Stan State who played a very important role in the study. It was a campus-wide effort, and it involved many departments that were led by our Division of Strategic Planning, Enrollment and Management and Innovation, also what we call SPEMI. And that vice president is none other than our dear Dr. Gitanjali Kaul. So Gitanjali, if you would stand up and wave. And so the campus has really benefited enormously from Gitanjali's leadership during the last 6 or 7 years, and really helped to change our campus culture to focus in on the data metrics that we can show and have evidence and proof of how important a university is and how important it is for our students, graduating students, students in the pipeline, and to our alumni. You will hear a lot more detailed information during today's presentation, but I wanted to just highlight several important facts that are overarching, and we'll go over some of these at the end so you fully appreciate just how powerful Stan State is. The first is that the purpose of an economic impact report is to help the public and the campus and the alumni understand that there are millions of dollars that come to the campus, come to the region, come to the city, the state, when there is a university located in a particular city. And so this is very powerful, and it oftentimes goes unrecognized. You just drive past us every day on Monte Vista and not realize how many millions of dollars. So you'll hear today how many millions there actually is in total economic impact. If you had to make a guess, anyone have a guess? Well, without cheating and looking at your sheet? All right, I won't steal Anaki's thunder because it is a massive number. I think that's something that you will all be very impressed with. Who knew that a university with 11,000 plus students could have such an enormous annual impact? How much money does a campus bring in? And this also helps to raise the economy of Turlock, for example, with all the spending. If you think about it, how many employees do we have? We have a little over 1,000 employees, 11,000 students. Think about all the things that they have to go and buy, purchase, where they live, et cetera, and then add up all of those dollars. Then think about all the alumni and what they are purchasing, where they live, what is their contribution for our local economy. And you add all of that money up, and then you will hear the magical number that Anaki will present to you today. The second thing is the impact of this data play a very important role in our recruiting and of prospective students. Students come to us. We are in the majority, I think Gitanjali once told me the number, I've forgotten the exact percentage, of how many students list us as their one and only one top choice. It's a pretty large number. I don't remember what the number is.
It's about 35%.
Yeah, 35%, which is very rare. Most students nowadays, they apply not to one college, they apply to whole, if you have college-age kids, they apply to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different colleges these days. And for many of our students, they say this is the one and only place they want to come. So we are a very place-driven kind of university and a lot of loyalty there. So our students, recruiting them, having them know this information is very powerful as a recruiting tool. The third thing is that the alumni are what make the bulk of this finding, the contributions of alumni. And so, I said to you that we have about 11,000 plus students that are credit bearing. So do you know how many of those students, that's how many are in the university right now as we sit here? About 11,000 registered students. But if I asked you, how many do we graduate each year? Anyone have a guess? It's 3,000, over 3,000. When I came here, we had never graduated a class as large as 3,000, but today we are graduating every year over 3,000 students a year. That's 3,000 new individuals who can add to the economic potential because they are now getting jobs and working. And that means then over the 62 years or so that we've been, 62 years that we've been in operation, Stan State now has how many alumni? We never graduated 3,000 before. That was new until when I came here. But we have a total of over 65,000 alumni, and that means that these are living alumni that are in the workforce or retired as well. So this again means that our alumni is what's driving this giant number that you'll hear about today. Then the other piece here that's important to know is because our students are graduating first in their families to get a college degree and they get good jobs, most of our students, 85%, want to stay and live right in our area in the 6-county region or sometimes even within a 50-mile radius of Turlock or Stockton. That means that They are securing good jobs in our region, and they're raising their salary potential that compared to students who don't get a college degree. So therefore, that means our campus is now rated among the top in the nation for the upward mobility of our students. That means that students, compared to students who don't have the college degree, our students are excelling far beyond their normal potential. And so, for example, CollegeNet in 2021, their social mobility index listed Stan State as one of the best schools in the nation for educating economically disadvantaged students and graduating them into good paying jobs. And in the past year, Money Magazine rated Stan State as one of the top 10 universities in California. So if you want to just go home tonight or on your phone, Google top 10 universities in California, Money Magazine, Stanford's number 1, I think UCLA's number 2, Berkeley is 3 or 4, and where's Stan State? We are in the top 10, we're at number 10. So we are competing with some of the best universities. Yes, we have to be proud about that. So we are very proud that this year we're in the top 10 best California universities. And fourth, these findings are very important for our elected officials and our community to know, so they appreciate the tremendous potential that our students and alumni have for the region and for the economic vitality of our region. And then lastly, the study again helps everybody understand. Our faculty, our staff, our administrators, and students feel great pride in exemplifying our collective success. She's an economist on the education consulting team at this outstanding team consulting firm Lightcast. She specializes, as you can see, in customized economic impact studies, does capital analysis, and she does this for universities and for colleges, and she provides labor market insights based on research models. And so she has co-authored the study that she will discuss. She received her master's degree from Carnegie Mellon and holds a bachelor's degree in mathematical models and methods in economics. So please welcome Anna Key.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Ellen, for such a fantastic introduction. It's a real pleasure to be here, and it's been a great pleasure to lead this project. This wonderful journey started in August last year, and of course it started with the data collection phase that took us over a couple of months. But I would say it is, even though it is the most challenging, but at the same time the most rewarding stage of the project, as our mutual goal is to ensure we are working with the most robust, reliable, and accurate data. And why is it so important? A couple of words about Lightcast. So for over 20 years, to be more precise, over 22 years already, Lightcast, formerly MZ Burning Glass, has been serving clients from higher education field and has always been known for its strong conservative approach to conducting economic impact studies. We present to our clients only those results that are supported by solid data-based evidence that we can defend. And so far, we've completed close to 3,000 economic impact studies for colleges and universities, and over 30 statewide systems received them from us. As for the study we've completed for Stan State University, it consists of two major parts: economic impact analysis and investment analysis. And the goal of the economic impact analysis is to answer the question: how would the regional economy have changed if not for Stan State? What part of economic activities would not have been created if Stan State and its alumni had not existed in fiscal year 2021-2022? So as you can see, this entire analysis is based on this counterfactual scenario. Investment analysis, in turn, measures how good is Stan State is as an investment from the perspectives of students, taxpayers, and society. But before we dive into those numbers, I wanted to talk a little bit about the region that we considered in our analysis. So for the purposes of this study, the service region of Stan State is called the Stan State 6-County Service Region, and is comprised of, obviously, 6 counties. In this 6-county region, the average annual earnings for someone with a bachelor's degree was $50,200 for the analysis year, which is again our fiscal year 2021-2022. The total income or gross regional product of the entire Stan State 6-County Service Region was approximately $74 billion. And in total, the region supported over 740,000 jobs. And these numbers are especially interesting when we measure the share of the economy, the portion of the regional income that was created and supported by Stan State alone. Looking at internal Stan State numbers, besides those numbers that we've already covered, that Stan State served almost 12,000 credit students and close to 1,000 non-credit students, it had over 1,300 employees. And we also see that Stan State attracted a significant portion of students from outside the region. Roughly 1 in 8 students came from out of the region. And now, with that baseline established, let me introduce the key outcomes. The total added income to the regional economy is $770.5 million. And if you paid attention, I said total added income, not the revenue or sales or output equivalent, but the added income. It is a net measure, the same as an additional income or profit to the region. Consider it this way. Any business generates its revenue from selling its goods or services or both. To produce these goods and services, business incurs inevitable costs. And the difference between these revenues and intermediary costs is the business's income. And in our case, the university's impact should also be seen as income, the value added to the region, or an increase in gross regional product because of the university's presence in the region. So if Stan State had not existed, the economy would have missed those figures. This impact is also equivalent to supporting more than 9,000 jobs. And job supported is another measure of the value added and represents the number of jobs that would be required to support the same change in income. And another important note to keep in mind while evaluating all those results is that this impact is net of multiple counterfactual scenarios that our model simulates to ensure as fair and objective results as possible. We play devil's advocate and account for a number of factors, allowing us to exclude any impact that could have been created anyway, even without the existence of Stan State. In regard to the university performance as an investment, since benefit-cost ratios of all 3 major investment groups, students, taxpayers, and society, are greater than 1, these main stakeholders receive more monies back over the students' working lives than they initially invested, indicating a truly profitable and valuable investment. For example, for every dollar invested in Stan State, people in California will receive a cumulative value of $14.5 back in benefits. So Stan State is a worthwhile and very favorable investment not only for students and taxpayers, but also for society as a whole. And with the key numbers highlighted, now let's talk about the economic impact analysis first. It is broken down into 5 major parts: operations, research, student spending impacts, as well as volunteerism and alumni impacts. And the operation spending impact stems from employees' salaries, benefits, wages, and other operations and maintenance related expenditures that occur during the analysis year, fiscal year 2022. For example, if the university routinely buys desks, computers, repairs something, or maintains its facilities, all those activities are reflected in the operation spending impact. This impact, and as any other impact that we'll be covering today, also considers the multiplier effects. The multiplier effects of money spent, also known as ripple effects. As when we spend money, it continues to move and multiply its impact throughout the economy. University employees spend their payroll monies in grocery stores, restaurants, malls, and so on. And then these businesses need to replenish their shelves, purchase new supplies, and so on. And then the second round of vendors is triggered. And that is how the ripple or multiplier effect is being created. But if we want to measure a fair economic impact, we should always account for the counterfactual outcomes. And here we incorporated in our model 2 factors. The first one is the factor of economic leakages, meaning that we only consider business spending that occurs within the specified region, our 6-county service region. And second, we account for the alternative use of funds or opportunity costs of the university funding by in-region sources. So looking at Stan State direct spending as well as multiplier effects, we see that Stan State's operation spending added $221 million. Again, during our analysis year. And this is in terms of added income or profit. Remember, not just revenues or sales equivalent. This figure shows us how much Stan State added to the economy, not how much it spent. In fact, it spent much more than this amount. This is the piece of gross regional product that was generated by Stan State alone. And again, this holds true for all other types of impacts that we'll cover today. And additionally, we can say that Stan State's operations spending supported close to 1,800 jobs in the region. And similar to operation spending, research spending impact is formed by earnings-related and non-earnings-related impacts. In other words, the university pays salaries to its employees for their research activities, and then these monies are spent within the regional economy, and it generates an initial effect. The university also buys equipment and other supplies that form another big part of R&D expenditures that also contribute to the total multiplier effect of research expenses. And as a significant note here is that the impact model accounts for the fields of study or research discipline and measures the multiplier effects accordingly. For example, we know that last year Stan State over half of Stan State research expenditures were spent on life sciences. And that means that our model makes a strong proportional emphasis on the relevant to life sciences industries in order to accurately measure the resultant impact, to capture it. And altogether, the initial and multiplier effects of research spending amount to $1.7 million in added income, which is equivalent to supporting 18 jobs. Of course, we all know that there is another type of highly valuable impact from R&D activities that is not directly or not necessarily directly related to the spending, as R&D activities, they drive progress, they enhance the efficiency of existing technologies, they create new technologies, they help businesses be more productive. And they add a great ultimate value to the economy. But since it is difficult to identify, quantify, and defend, it remains out of the scope of our analysis. But we can perceive this value of 1.7 million as a very conservative estimate, as a firm minimum. Next, we looked at student spending impact. And for this one, we only measured the spending of two specific groups of students. Students that relocated to the Stan State Service Region in order to obtain their education, and in-region students who would have otherwise left the region to seek education elsewhere, if not for the presence of Stan State. And as with the previous impacts, we account for counterfactual scenarios here as well. Specifically, we do not include students who would have stayed in the region anyway, and we do not consider commuters from outside the region. And the spending of these relocated and retained students represents new or retained monies in the region that we can attribute to Stan State. As students of both types, by living in the region, inevitably spend their money on groceries, rent, transportation, etc. They support local jobs and add income to the economy. And just because of these students and the ripple effects of their activities, we claim that Stan State added to the regional economy $18.3 million or supported almost 300 jobs. Another type of impact is volunteerism impact. It is quite an interesting one because it is based on the value of hours volunteered by Stan State's employees. Yes, volunteers are not paid for their work, but their time is still valuable for organizations they volunteer for. And thanks to volunteers, businesses and organizations, they spend their saved resources on other projects. They relocate their resources, thereby generating multiplier effects throughout the economy. So the volunteerism impact for fiscal year 2022 amounted to $103,000, which is equivalent to supporting 3 jobs in the region. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, we measured alumni impact. And this type of impact deserves special attention, recognition, and appreciation. It constitutes almost 70% of the total impact. Just imagine how big it is. But besides being the largest impact, it is also quite a unique one in terms of how it is calculated. This impact has a special mission. Every business has an operation spending impact, but only higher education is creating human capital. Because of the education students received at Stan State, they will receive higher future earnings for their entire working lives. Additionally, the businesses they work for will be more productive and thus be more profitable. And with the right set of skills and knowledge acquired at the university, Stan State graduates continuously contribute to the growth of the regional economy and local capital assets across a variety of regional industries. An important note and one of the unique aspects of this impact is that we look at multiple decades back, because the region is still getting benefits from Stan State's working alumni, even if they graduated over 30 years ago. So alumni impact, unlike all previous impacts, is the cumulative measure. It is also worth mentioning here that to be objective, we only measure the impact from those alumni who are still working and living in the region. So we account for so-called attrition rates. And we excluded all Stan State's former students who might have already retired or moved out of the region or be unemployed or not participate in labor force. And summing up, earnings-related and business-related alumni impact, we arrive at approximately $530 million of alumni impact. And this is equivalent to supporting 7,000 jobs in the regional economy. And at this point, I want to direct your attention once again to the matter of accuracy and plausibility of these results. While thinking of these figures, whether 530 million or 7,000 jobs, it is important to keep in mind that these numbers are the most reliable and verifiable values possible, as they are tailored to real Stan State alumni, not hypothetical graduates with the estimated demographic profile, but real people. Lightcast conducted another study last year for Stan State, where we were able to identify a good portion of all Stan State's former students and see their post-grad outcomes, such as occupation, job title, industry, city they are employed, and of course we know the median earnings in those occupations and industries. So we informed our economic impact study by already known alumni outcomes from another study made specifically for former Stan State students. And this knowledge, this data, add immense value to the credibility and reliability of the results. It helps us get the most accurate, robust, and defensible picture of Stan State's true alumni impact. And those are the examples of the outcomes that we've received from that second study, alumni outcomes. And altogether, operations, research, research and student spending impacts, along with volunteerism and alumni impacts, amount to, as we've already known, $770.5 million of the added income to the regional economy. This impact constitutes 1% of the gross regional product. To put it another way, the contribution that the university provided on its own is nearly as large as the entire information industry in the 6-county service region. It is also equivalent to supporting roughly 9,000 jobs. And to embrace and appreciate this meaning even further, we can think about them as if 1 out of 82 jobs in the Stan State 6-county service region is supported by Stan State alone. And this impact stemmed from different industries. The industry sectors with the greatest income contribution to the regional economy are, of course, those where operation spending and alumni impact concentrate the most. And next up is the investment analysis, which is performed at the state level and is looking at the return on investment to the 3 distinct investing groups: students, taxpayers, and society. For each of them, we are looking at their costs, at their benefits, and then we compare them. The first investing group is former students. They incur direct costs in the form of tuition and fees and cost of books and supplies, and indirect opportunity costs of attending universities or their foregone earnings, because after all, they give up the time they could have been working instead of studying. And we also take into account the student loan interest that students will need to pay off. But what do they get back then? Students will receive incremental higher earnings or higher salaries and wages for the rest of their working lives. If we divide the students' benefits by their costs, we will get a benefit cost ratio of 12.1. That means that for every $1,000 spent by Stan State students on their education, they will receive $12,100 back in higher future earnings over the course of their careers. And this represents 30.3% of the annual internal rate of return, which is a very favorable, and I cannot emphasize it more, very favorable, impressive return, especially if we compare it to the 10.5% of the 30-year average return of the S&P 500 stock market. The investment in Stan State generates excellent returns to its students, which are well above, almost 3 times higher than the long-term average rate of return that can be offered by US stocks and bonds market. The second major group of group of investors are California taxpayers. Costs to taxpayers appear in the form of state and local funding, so this is simple. As for the benefits, since Stan State students will be making more money due to their education, they will also be paying more in taxes. Additionally, since the businesses they work for will be more productive, those businesses will also be paying more in taxes because of the increased output. And the last source of benefits to taxpayers is represented by government savings or avoided government expenses due to the improved lifestyle of Stan State graduates, as according to scientific research from government and private sources, educated people tend to be healthier, commit fewer crimes, and demand less income assistance, such as welfare or unemployment benefits. So these benefits and costs return the taxpayer benefit cost ratio of 2.3, meaning that for every $1 of public money invested in Stan State in fiscal year 2022, taxpayers will get back $2.3 over the course of students' working lives. And as long as the taxpayer benefit cost ratio is greater than 1, investment in an institution is considered worthwhile and profitable, as taxpayers not only fully recover their original investment, they also yield in additional benefits. They receive extra benefits over their original investment. Like in our case, 130% more. Finally, we look at society as a whole in California. And social costs include Stan State expenditures, students' out-of-pocket expenses, and students' opportunity costs. And social benefits consist primarily of the increased economic base, namely students' increased lifetime earnings, additional tax revenues because of the increased business output of their employers, and added income from the university's activities, such as operations, research, and student spending that we've already covered. And the second type of benefit to society is again avoided cost to society, or put another way, social savings. And they are health-related, crime-related, and income assistance-related as well. And to give you more real-life example of such positive externalities, imagine a farmer who grows apple trees. Imagine he has a neighbor who is a beekeeper. And you've already guessed that the beekeeper benefits from the farmer's activities, as he gets a great free source of nectar for his bees to produce honey. But the farmer benefits from such an indirect partnership as well, since his neighbor's bees spread the pollen necessary for apple trees' growth and fruit production. It is a win-win, and so is with educational institutions that provide economy with highly skilled, talent, and educated workforce. And as a result, they indirectly increase the overall well-being of society. And the benefit-cost ratio for society is 14.5, two-digit value, which means that for every dollar invested in Stan State in fiscal year 2022, society as a whole will receive $14.5 back over the students' working lives. So this study clearly shows that Stan State is a profitable and very favorable investment that generates excellent returns for its three major groups of stakeholders: students, taxpayers, and society in California. We see that all three types of investors are greatly benefiting from Stan State activities, but besides that, Stan State creates a broad range of intangible, but still highly valuable, long-standing, substantial benefits related to the better quality of life of the people of California. In addition, I'll go back for one slide. This economic impact study demonstrates that Stan State is a great asset to the regional economy, generating almost $800 million of the total gross regional product annually. This is the value that the six-county region would not have enjoyed if not for the existence of Stan State. And with that, I am wrapping up my today's presentation and turn it over to Ellen.
Who would have thought that you would come to a Friday breakfast to digest economic information? I want to thank you for listening patiently, and want to thank Anna-Key for giving us a very nice overview with not too many tables and charts, which of course economists love, and formulas. But what I want to do is just summarize a few key points so that you can understand what you learned today about Stan State and what it means for us as alumni, as members of the board, as members, employees, and so forth. Is, I think, again, the key piece here is that economics does provide us with incredible tools and ability metrics to be able to measure what is the economic impact of a thing called a university. And the students which graduate and then go on to great professional success in our region. So if you take out your sheet, this is the thing that you will, I think Rosalie's team did an outstanding job to distill this using some informatics so you can quickly understand. And of course, Anna-Key also showed you the slides as well. But the point here is that even though we're a relatively small CSU, about 12,000 students that are credit bearing, if you count up the total output from the economic purchases and then the economic return from our 1,200 employees, 11,000 students, and then 65,000 alumni, the total annual impact, now this is the hard part you have to wrap your head around, is that our campus, both here and in Turlock, generates almost $750 million every year. Now wrap your mind around that. Then you pass by our little quiet, calm little campus every day and think, oh, well, there's Stan State. It's a busy intersection, no big deal. But no, it is a really big deal. Do you understand? Almost more than $250 million is generated every year by you who are alumni, by our employees, by those of you who are on the board, and as Mayor Bublak knows, she's a devoted warrior. She's very proud of this institution, and we thank her for being here. Again, that shows the power. If we did not have Stan State here in Turlock, the state and this region would be short almost $750 million annually. Do you see the impact? So when people talk about town gown, they don't understand just how powerful an institution like ours is, because we do such a good job with students who are first in their family to go to college and then helping them succeed in getting well-paying, secure jobs and moving on up. We have a number of board members here that are also have started at Stan State and now are high at the top of their careers in their respective fields. And just a big shout out, there's 3 of our alumni sitting here, right? Well, no, actually Jim's not an alumna, but you send your son there now. He's a Fresno State alum, but still part of the CSU, right? Yes, that's right, your son is here, right? So many thanks to the board members that are here, including, Adrian as well as our alumni representative as well. So I think that's the one thing that you want to understand, is that the campus not only supports us economically, but in doing so, we are producing students whose life, generations of their family will now be aspiring to go to college and increasing. So my hope is that 10 years from now, we won't have 74% of our students who are first gen. It should start declining, because now all their children will be saying, I want to go to Stan State, and we're going to grow and continue to grow the educational potential and the economic potential of our student body and our alumni groups. So I think these are things that are really key for you to take home as what you learned from this morning's Economic Impact Report, and understand that this is just the beginning of a campaign to help others understand what Stan State does contribute.